glasses.
Hey, look at this jerkwad.
Look at this thing, and I can't believe I have to keep seeing this. Here's some footage.
Come on and visit for any occasion. Don't keep patting down waiting. Comics and conversation. Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Patrick Brower and W. Dal Bush.
We're going to start this episode talking about bus lanes. Are you excited?
I didn't know if that was like a drop-in point.
No.
Or if I was supposed to start actually talking.
Yeah, I don't know how to pull the audio, so I don't know.
Okay.
When I came to work on Friday in Bucktown at Red,
Challengers Red in Bucktown,
there were some news people across the street, a CBS 2 news van, and a camera guy and a news guy, and they're walking around doing stuff. I'm like, oh, whatever. And then a few minutes later, they came in, and they were asking about parking, and I thought, really? Even the news people have to ask us about parking? Because we get asked about parking so much.
Always, forever.
In that store. And it's not like people don't go into the barbershop and that. No, they just come to us.
No, always us.
The joke used to be, if we could monetize that, we could stop selling comics.
Yeah. Basically, we should just do I will tell you about parking for $1.
Yeah. Right. But it turns out they were doing a story on bus lanes and how there are new bus lanes on different streets throughout the city, including Western Avenue, including right in front of Challengers Red. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if you're someone who drives to the store, you've noticed these big patches of red in front of the store. And the rule is, it is a bus lane from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
And I think
each
there's
day.
a point in the morning as well, maybe.
No.
No? Okay.
4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It is 2-hour parking from 8 a.m. from 9 a.m. till 4 p.m. Mm-hmm. It is a bus lane from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It is 2-hour parking from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Right. So from 8 p.m. to 9 a.m. it is non-metered unlimited parking.
Right. Okay. And it's, as Dow just pointed out, it's you don't have to pay.
It is an incredibly confusing way that they explain it.
Well, sure, and that's what the sign says.
Yeah.
But this news reporter from Channel 2 was clearly doing a story about how the bus lanes have failed and the city spent too much money on them.
And everyone's mad at them.
Yeah, so he came in with an agenda, and I'll be perfectly honest, I dislike the bus lanes because of all the questions we get from people.
Yeah.
I don't dislike them as a city-goer.
Well, as a parenthetical, the additional problem that we have in front of Challengers that we have to deal with probably more than other businesses is that the city has not taken down the no parking 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. signs that they put up when they were doing the painting to begin with. Painting's all done. They have been gone for a month, and no one's taken those signs down. So a lot of people who would even understand when the bus lane restrictions start and stop will see those signs and go, wait, so I can't even park from 7 to 5? You can. No one's taken those signs down because the city doesn't care.
Yeah, the city is lazy. How often is it that they'll put up a sign saying, hey, you can't park here for the next 2 weeks because of gas work that's going to be happening. And then they don't start that gas work until 2.5 weeks later. Then they have to put up more signs. Mm-hmm. And then they're done in a day and a half, and they leave the signs up for 2 more weeks. Yep. So that is a standard part of the city.
Yeah, pretty frustrating.
So they bring in the camera. He's like, hey, do you mind if we talk to you on camera? I'm like, yeah, sure. Because Cersei asked, oh, can we park here? And I'm like, yeah, you know, and I laid out the rules, and I explained where the sign is and what it says and how badly it says it. And then he said, can we talk to you? So they come in and set up, and I'm like, can we go out on the floor? Because we had 3 overflow club boxes on the counter.
Sure. And
stacks of stuff, and they're like, no, it's going to be fine. I didn't realize how tight the close-ups were.
Tighten on you, yeah.
Like it was just the side of my head.
That's it.
Yeah, it was such a weird thing. And so he interviewed me behind the counter for a very brief period of time. And I would have appreciated a heads up because he's like, and what do you want to tell the city about this? Okay, I'll make something up on the spot. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, "Oh, great, thanks, this was great." And the cameraman's walking around getting B-roll. Apparently he took some B-roll of a club member and patron Robert Burns browsing graphic novels that did not make it in the final cut. Sorry, Bob.
Too bad.
Apparently I'm a camera hog. That's what Bob said. And then he and I were just over, I'm like, let me show you where the sign is. And so we walked down to the middle windows. I'm like, it's right there. But as you can see, it's tilted the wrong way. You can't see it.
Right.
So we stand there talking about it for a little bit longer. That whole thing was recorded and filmed because they used part of it. Mm-hmm. I didn't think I was even on camera at that point anymore. Sure. And then they finally wrap it up and they leave. Hilariously, the segment, when it aired on the news, started 1 block away from where you were at Blue.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny because I knew that you had done that earlier that day.
Because you called in the middle of it.
Yeah, because I was going to show you something through Comic Suite, and Gina had said you were busy filming. So then when you sent me the link later that evening, it starts in River North. I'm like, where was Patrick? Where was I today? What's happening?
Yeah, they were a block away from you.
Yeah, and it's a funny segment because the guy 100% has an agenda. This is not like unbiased news reporting. This is, these don't work, and I'm mad at them. Johnny Cadillac over here. I love that he immediately gets mad at, the guy who's proving his point. Look at this car parked in this lane that shouldn't be parked right here right now. Look at him. And it just, the whole thing was very agenda-driven. And I'm not saying that he's wrong on a lot of it. We've noticed, 1, how confusing the signs are. We just talked about it. 2, that there's zero enforcement. So when people are parking there during rush hour when they absolutely should not be, they're not getting ticketed or booted or towed.
Right.
The buses just go around them. So it's what is the point of this? It makes people who follow the rules have a total disadvantage. And then the people who ignore all the signs get whatever they want and get way better parking because people aren't parking in that lane. So it's oh, look at all those extra spots I found.
Yeah, there's a woman who's like, yeah, we know what the rules are. We're going to park here anyway.
Yeah.
But he had asked me early on, he's like, well, what happens when somebody parks there during that 4 to 6 time period? I'm like, hey, you can't park there. It's red. Mm-hmm. So they use that segment as the first thing I say.
Yeah.
And what if someone parks there during normal hours? Hey, you can't park there. It's red. And if you think like Patrick Brower, you'd be wrong.
They edited exactly what they needed out of that segment.
I know. It was so great.
Yeah.
Our friend and fellow retailer Ed Cook noticed that while there was a lot of exteriors of the store, and they said that I ran a street side comic book shop, they never said Challengers.
That's fine.
They never said the store name. There was also no graphic for me underneath it, which, again, is fine.
Yeah.
And, really, I do not feel strongly about the bus lanes. I'm someone who takes a bus to get to work.
Yeah.
And I would appreciate it if they were used correctly.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like anything with public transit in the city, I would love it if it all worked how it was supposed to. It doesn't. That's not the city and the world I live in, so I'm kind of used to it. No. There's... People don't follow the rules in Chicago. I don't know. What do you want?
It just led to some fun exchanges on the internet with hey, I hope Johnny Cadillac joins the subscription service.
Johnny Cadillac was my favorite part, by far.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just because it exposes his bias so quickly, where he's not just I'm reporting on a serious problem in the city of Chicago that people need to be informed about, so much as grinding axes.
Hey, look at this jerkwad.
Look at this thing, and I can't believe I have to keep seeing this. Here's some footage. All right, great.
Yeah, it was a weird way.
I want you, by the way, to use that fake quote as the lead-in for this episode.
Okay.
I want that. I want it to sound like I'm very upset about something in the same way that they misattributed your quote.
I will do so.
Where you were playing a character, and they had it as you just saying a thing.
It really was a character because I honest to God, did not care.
No.
But I knew what he wanted.
Yeah, you're a camera hog. I get it.
Yeah. So I was told. Yeah, I don't mind. And ultimately, I'm like, if it gets the shop in front of some eyeballs. And Jimmy the Muscle called last night around 10 o'clock to say, hey, I just saw you on the news.
Yeah, and I mean, at worst, it's a momentary diversion,
Yeah.
It's fine. It's a fun little story you could tell on a podcast.
I was able to, right before I closed yesterday, I was able to go to their website and find the piece and
That's great.
link to it. I didn't put it on the Challengers page, I just put it on my page.
That's great.
But it was funny that Ryan Voss had said how Challenger seems to be like a mecca. Like this isn't a comic related thing at all. It's just a Chicago thing, but they still came to Challengers for it.
Patrick gives good footage.
Actually, as I was talking to this guy in my head, I'm thinking, I'm going too fast. I'm saying too much. I'm not giving him any sound bites. They're not going to be able to use this. Because I know how to talk for segments.
Right.
But since I had literally no dog in this race,
Right.
I'm like, I'm just going to spew words out my mouth hole.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I thought it was... I mean, obviously I didn't see the original, but I could sort of see what they were cutting to get what they needed.
And it didn't present the story in bad light or anything.
No.
And yeah.
You weren't faking like a total like mind-bending rage at these things just to give him like what he was looking for. You kept it in the realm of like, it's weird, the city's kind of not great with it. Like, I appreciate what they're trying to do, but it's kind of ineffective.
My favorite part was I was ringing up a club member and I did not know they were filming that as well. Mm-hmm. And he didn't want his receipt, so I was just going to throw it away. So I was going to step back, and you see Gina for a split second.
Yeah.
And Gina realizes she's on camera. Like, she knew she was, but it was like how do I stand?
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah. So it was, it's fine. It's not necessarily comic related, but it's definitely...
It's definitely not comic related.
Challengers related. And I wanted to start with something light, because I feel like we're probably going to get a little bit darker.
Oh, I'd rather not. I mean,
okay, good.
It's all the same.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I mean, we were going to talk about club changes.
Oh, were we going to do that today?
You want to wait until... Well, I mean, it's been on the board for the last...
Sure.
This is the third week it's on the board.
Right. Well, I mean, I appreciate that the board has a say in this. I was going to wait until we had actually done the physical write-up.
Okay.
And then...
That's fine.
Once we have it locked in and we know what we're saying and the language of it is clear... then we'll talk about it. I don't want to talk about it just in a, like, this is a thing that we're going to have to address.
The funny part about that is we had somebody say, let me guess what the next episode is about. Club members don't pick up their books, and Marvel has too many comics on the racks.
I mean, the first one, yeah. Like, I think we've mentioned before, November was kind of a terrible month for people remembering to come get their subscriptions.
Yeah.
Like Patrick said, we had 3 overflow boxes. And that's not because we have so many subscribers who are getting so many books. It's because so many people have not picked up their books. But the Marvel having too many books thing, I don't know if I would agree with that.
I mean, it's hard to order, and there's a lot of things that are just one-shots that take up space.
Yeah.
And
certainly doing Annihilation Scourge and 2099 in the same month is something that I would have maybe suggested Marvel not do, because it's making sure that neither one of those properties really gets the attention it probably needed to sell well.
Well, ultimately, I think a major factor to that is that those are both not good. And if you or I were behind either one of them, that would make a huge difference.
Sure. Yeah, no, I read 2099 Alpha and Annihilation Scourge Alpha, and I thought they were both competent at best, but certainly nothing that I would put in someone's hands who was not already excited about it.
And also harder to
good.
justify the increased cover price.
Yeah, especially because something like Annihilation Scourge, it's not 100% clear, like, what is the scope of this buy-in? Like, okay, so it's Alpha and Omega, and then like 4 one-shots or 5 one-shots, something. But then what? Is there another thing after this? Is this like...
Yes, the Ruins of Ravencroft Annihilation.
Oh, no. Like the Infinity Wars had Infinity Countdown ahead of it. So is this the equivalent of that, where there will be another full 6-issue miniseries with a bunch of tie-ins and stuff coming in 2020? Or is this just a 2-month thing and we're out? Not knowing that means it's difficult to say, because that's one of the first questions people ask when you're handing them something like that, is that, how long is this? And it's like, at least 6, maybe more. I don't know. So that's bad messaging on Marvel's part to sort of keep stuff like that. Because they never want to say, like, oh, this is a 6-issue series, because then people will go, oh, I'll just get the trade then, or I won't get it. Like, so everything's just, how many? I don't know. How many do you want it to be? Which is...
You mean like the current Dawn of X books?
No, not that. I mean, those, I don't... I think that's a different thing.
Okay.
But like Ruins of Ravencroft, where it's like, what is this? Is this a miniseries and a bunch of one-shots? Is it a miniseries, a bunch of one-shots, and an ongoing series? Is it, like...
I'm sure they don't know, and they're testing the market to see if anybody cares.
Even shit like Absolute Carnage, which is a discrete 4-issue miniseries with some marketed tie-ins became a discrete 5-issue series with even more tie-ins in an additional month, where it's like you had a checklist.
Yeah.
And then you added more books to the checklist.
It's also a bad look that after the main series ends, there's still tie-ins coming out the week after.
Yeah. So, Marvel has too many books. I mean, yes and no. I think I go back and forth as to how detrimental it is to the market overall that Marvel has so many books. Simply because we have, as retailers, I think collectively reached a point where we do not feel the need to stock every Marvel book, let alone stock them heavily.
Right.
So we're fine looking at stuff like Yondu and Ruins of Ravencroft and Annihilation Scourge and going token copies.
Yeah.
Or even just checking out entirely. There's a few things like Old Man Quill, where by issue 12 we're like, let's not even order this for the shelf. We saw maybe one. Who cares?
Right. And any of those movie or video game tie-ins,
yeah.
It's like, we don't care.
Same, yeah. So if we don't have any sales data, if we don't have any subscriber info, then yeah, we're gonna again order very low to zero depending on what we feel like the potential is. Again, like Patrick had said, if there's stuff where we're invested in it, if we're excited about a project, then regardless of what we're seeing through the subscriber info and the sales data, we'll try and get behind it to start with to see if we can make something out of it. But even then, rarely is there a thing where we are completely disconnected from our customer base, where we're excited for something that nobody signs up for. It usually, if we're excited about it, a few subscribers are going to want to go in on it, and then we know what we're building off of. Sometimes if we're excited about it, everyone's into it, and it's great, and it's not a lot of extra work for us. But yeah, it's Marvel stuff is doing so much better than other publishers that it's not that I don't want to criticize Marvel, because I'm sure we just did. B, we'll do it again probably later in this episode. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, but the odds are for it. But Marvel is so much more of our sales in single comics than any other publisher now.
Well, sure, but they also put out twice as much as anybody else.
Yeah, but I think if you look at what we're actually selling, it's the same number of titles or less than something like DC. It's just that they're selling substantially more. DC and Image, I don't have sales data in front of me, but they both are shitting the bed, more or less.
I would have said underperforming, but okay. We can use your words.
Yeah, Image I think more than DC at this point, mostly because we know what Image can do when it's firing on all cylinders, and currently it's firing on negative cylinders.
Yeah, but I don't know what it would take for them to get back to all cylinders.
They basically, and this is the always been the toughest thing with Image, is that they don't have brands per se. They can't just make a new Batman book and sell more Batman books. Their brand is their creators, and the creators in general can only produce so much material. Jason Aaron is not like a publishing house. He's one guy.
Yeah. So
he can only write so many books at a time, and when he's writing stuff for other publishers as well, that limits how much he can do for Image. That said, something like Southern Bastards ever coming back would be a huge boon for us. That has a fan base and readership that has not left comics yet. Obviously,
I hope they haven't left comics.
Well, I mean, they're still signed up for us.
Sure, and also Southern Bastards has fallen so far from where it was.
Yeah, mostly because of how inconsistently it was coming out. It was the same. Obviously, not to keep harping on the same book that we've been harping on for 3 years. Bitch Planet coming back. I don't even know if there's a readership for it anymore, but at the time it was selling 60 copies.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think we've got an Image comic right now that's selling 60 copies, anywhere close to it.
No. We did okay with Undiscovered Country.
Sure. But even then, we didn't sell out of it.
Didn't we?
No, we still got copies.
Okay.
We definitely didn't order the second print because we still have copies of the first print, and that's supposedly Image's biggest hit of the year. And that's something that I don't even think we pushed 50 copies of. And then when you get outside of that, you get to stuff like, the recently wrapped up Black Science that we were doing maybe 20 copies of. Deadly Class is in the 20s.
Yeah.
East of West is in the 30s, but it's only a couple copies off the shelf, and they got one more issue coming out.
What bothered me about most of the titles you just mentioned, though, was for, 20, 24 copies, fine. That's 2 for the shelf.
Yeah, if that.
It was all subscribers.
Yeah, and we see that with a lot of books.
Which is important.
Yeah, but we see that with a lot of Image books, where once you start getting into the teens and 20s and 30s of issues, no one's jumping on anymore. The jumping on point is that first 10 issues. And that by that point, the readership is locked in. Die, which is a book that I like, that does well for us. They're closing out their second arc, and we are selling 2 or 3 off the shelf now.
Yeah.
Because you're either in or you're out on that
one
book.
of the regular cover and 1 or 2 of the variant cover.
Because we're seeing... We tried with issue 6, I think, with the start of the second arc.
To go up, thinking,
well, we'd forgotten, unfortunately, thinking, people had read the collection, now they're caught up, now they're going to jump... No, they don't. If they've read the collection, they're just going to get the second collection. The period of time where people were actually shifting from graphic novels to single issues is so far gone with Image. That market does not exist anymore. I don't know what fever dream they were all living in that caused them to actually do that 5 years ago, but it's all gone.
Yep.
They don't. No one does. You're buying one format or the other. No one goes back and forth.
But look at a launch like Oblivion Song.
Sure.
Which was an interesting launch, and it got some traction to it. We're club only now.
Yeah. And have been for a while, and no one's complained about it. We haven't had anyone come in saying, you don't have the new copy of Oblivion Song. Outcast was like that a year before.
Die, we were, by issue 4 or 5, which, of course, we had issues with ordering issues, but what I meant is we had trouble with ordering issues.
Die, you mean?
Yes, I'm sorry, Die.
Okay.
We were only doing 15 copies.
Yeah. And
And I like that book.
Yeah, what I would consider the successful, in quotes, for us, Image Comics, like Gideon Falls or Die, none of those was pushing 30 copies for us.
No.
And keep in mind, Saga sold, when it was coming out, well over 100 copies.
Yeah. Up to 54.
Yeah.
Not counting 54.
Yeah,
up to 54.
During the hits period of Image, when stuff like Saga and Paper Girls and Sex Criminals and Southern Bastards and Bitch Planet were all coming out. I think Paper Girls overlap with Bitch Planet. Honestly, at this point, it might have come out after Bitch Planet stopped coming out. Those Image books were selling, the Brian K. Vaughan, the Kelly Sue DeConnick, the Matt Fraction, the Hickman, the Brubaker. All their books were selling minimum 50 copies.
Yep.
Some of them were up into the 70s and 80s of copies. And now you could take literally any 2 Image comics and put them together and not hit those numbers. And then that's counting the stuff. The 2 you're putting together are what is successful now for Image. The unsuccessful books are ones where, Nomen Omen, which I hate that title so much, Om Nom Nom Nom, came out, and that was a big push for Image the month it came out. Issue 1 of 15. It's a hit European graphic novel series. We sold 2 copies.
Yep.
2 copies of issue 1.
We appreciate Image letting us return it
Thank
and
God.
giving us the confidence to order more. However, that misplaced it was. Marked is doing okay, but at issue 3, you shouldn't just be doing okay.
Yeah. But again, that's the kind of the middle class basically for Image has evaporated, and the 1% is one book that isn't even coming out anymore. It's only lower class books now, basically. It's only poor people. That's all that exists for Image Comics is poor people.
Remember Fair Lady, which was every issue was oversized for regular price. Every issue was a standalone story that could be read in any order. Sure. Canceled at 5.
Sure. So to what Image needs to do to recapture that is the worst advice you can possibly give, which is make hit books. I don't know if the previous class of hit creators is still relevant in a way that could move the needle anymore. Obviously Brian K. Vaughan matters. We just ordered a ton of copies of a Walking Dead comic that he did digitally years ago because we're confident that people are going to care about him and his work.
Since you brought it up, I just want to jump in, and it's a harder sell than I thought it would be for that book. Especially because it is a local comic shop day book, and there were only 664 stores across the world.
To an email I read, that book goes for at least $16 online. We have it for $6, and we got a bunch. We got a whole bunch.
Yeah. And
you want to make $10 online.
It is excellent.
Yeah.
But it's so rare.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it doesn't help that it came out when the series was over.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of an overlap, despite Walking Dead and Saga being two of our better-selling Image comics, I don't know how much of an overlap. Like, it feels like instead of a chocolate and peanut butter thing, it's like opposites not attracting? Like
Oil and water?
Oil and water, let's say.
Not that you should eat oil.
I do a lot. But you've got, like, Walking Dead fans who are like, oh, I don't want this because it's not by Robert Kirkman. And then you've got Brian K. Vaughan fans going, oh, I don't want to read a Walking Dead comic. So it's like, but somehow
and
it's for somebody.
You read it, right?
I have not finished it yet.
Okay, I just like to say to people that it is not a Walking Dead comic.
Yeah,
it
not
is
really.
A comic set in the world of Walking Dead. And when I say world, I mean literally a whole different country than the Walking Dead series.
Yeah, this does not feature any of the cast members from the Walking Dead comic.
No.
It is in a different part of the world.
But it is excellent and maybe the best Walking Dead story ever.
Maybe. So yeah, I don't know if they suddenly got a bunch more work from Brian K. Vaughan and Matt Fraction and Kelly Sue DeConnick and Jonathan Hickman, that it would matter as much, because again, we've got books by those people, some of them, and they don't sell that great anymore. Pretty Deadly does not do that well for us. It's again in that kind of 20-something copy range, maybe.
Yeah, and then if you look at their other work, like Aquaman or Jimmy Olsen, by the way, which is excellent and gorgeous art. Steve Lieber kills it every issue.
It does fine for us.
It does fine though, but I wanted to do like it and Lois. I thought which should have been like
huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Huge. Should have been to completely different audiences than Superman
should
books.
they have been Black Label books? I
don't know. I mean, maybe. It couldn't have hurt at this point.
Let me jump in with a quick exchange. Mm-hmm. This is on multiple levels. A woman comes in to make an exchange. Mm-hmm. She bought these 3 graphic novels for a kid in her family that she thought he would like, but then they were in together and he pointed out the things that he actually wanted.
Oh, okay.
He's 12 years old, so she bought Arkham Asylum, Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe, which I think might have been my recommendation.
Okay.
And another, like, Batman Year One or something.
Okay.
I mean, 2 excellent books and a Deadpool book.
Okay.
So she's exchanging them for can you, like, 2 Bat books, but the opposite of good.
The Tony Daniel Detective Comics Volume 1, The Batman Who Laughs.
The Batman Who Laughs and Batman Damned. And I said, how old is your stepson? And she said, 12. I'm like, all right, this is what they call a Black Label book. This is a mature reader's book. Mm. Oh, he's mature for his age. I'm like, that's fine. I'm just giving you the information.
Sure.
So she went and looked through it, and she ultimately decided, no, it's fine. He can get it. Mm. Hey, you wouldn't have been the voice of Batman last week when my son was in, were you? Yes. Yes, I was. And I explained that whole thing.
Yeah, and how
she's like,
how
yeah,
sad it made me.
I thought it was. I could see that the door to the back room was open, so I figured that was what was happening, but I didn't say anything. And I go, I am really sorry. I didn't want anyone to think I was making fun, like I said last week.
Right.
It's like, oh no, not at all. It's just he has a hard time differentiating fantasy from reality.
Uh-huh.
And I go, look, if you want to bring him back, I will happily go in the back room and be Batman whenever you want. But I did not. This was not
sure.
I didn't. Yeah. So there's closure to that.
Okay,
to that
good.
story.
I'm glad that kid is not traumatized or whatever by it.
Right. Oh, he hasn't stopped talking about Batman.
That's great.
No, I made that up.
No, leave it.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. But then later in the day, I had a father and a daughter. And the daughter's like, I want to get this one. He's like, no, that's got a T+ rating. I don't think you should get that. And I said, hey, man, I want to thank you so much for being a parent who looks at a rating and says, I don't think that's for you. Because the number of times I have a parent say, oh, my child is more mature than a normal 12-year-old or whatever. And he goes, oh, she's not. She's like, hey.
Plus, a lot of those ratings are bullshit.
No, agreed.
I get so mad at that Spider-Man Venom Double Trouble thing being rated a teen book.
It is 100%.
Children.
Yeah.
It's very, 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 very good, and it's for children.
Before we get too far away, when we were talking about getting books we're getting behind, I wanted to say, for example, Suicide Squad. The new Suicide Squad that's coming out from DC.
Yeah.
It's written by Tom Taylor, drawn by
Bruno Redondo.
I loved it. It was a lot of fun. It is a straightforward superhero book. It's a little bit more mature, but it's not like an R-rated book.
Sure.
It's PG-13.
Yeah.
It's clever. It's fun. There's stakes. Things matter. If you like Harley, she's in it. If you don't like Harley, she's not in it so much that you hate her. It is basically... It's not a new take on the Suicide Squad. It is an updated Suicide Squad.
That's cool.
And it's still the Suicide Squad, and Amanda Waller's still there and all this stuff, but I really enjoyed it. And if you're looking for just a fun superhero-esque book to put on your list and not have to worry about crossovers or crises or being pulled into any other events, add Suicide Squad, man. And I don't care if you shop with us. Just add it wherever you shop, because it's a good book and you'll like it.
It's true. Getting back to what we were talking about with Image Comics, though, if the previous class of hit creators isn't necessarily enough to get people excited about Image Comics again, which I think it kind of varies. Like Rick Remender, we've had much more diminishing returns on than, say, Brian K. Vaughan or Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah, I mean, Death of Glory is the perfect example.
No one cares.
And it's Bengal, who's amazing.
And it's literally the only one I wanted to read in like the last few Rick Remender books.
Yeah.
And that was the one that no one cared about and we took a bath on.
I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off. I just had a thought.
It's okay.
So, Rick Remender left Marvel to do all his creator-owned stuff.
Correct.
I feel like he might be getting bored. What if he went to DC?
Then their books would look great because he knows all the best
All the good artists, yeah.
But
I mean, what if he did like Uncanny X-Force, but for like Teen Titans?
Oh, not for Teen Titans. Titans, maybe. Can maybe see that.
Well, whatever. I'm just saying.
I know what you're saying.
An underperforming book, do a 2-year arc on it.
Yeah, I think I'd be into like. I'd certainly give a shot to like Rick Remender's Green Arrow or whatever.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. I think he'd be an interesting pickup for them. I don't. Again, it's sort of tricky, kind of how quickly the market forgets about people, and I wonder how permanent that is and how temporary that is. So I mean, for example, like Rick Remender's a guy who's been doing image stuff for a little while, and the last Marvel thing he did was it Axis? Was that kind of the end of his run?
Yeah.
And how many years ago was that now? Like 3? More?
Feels like more.
So if he comes back and he takes over Green Arrow and he also does, I don't know, probably a Batman book because that's how the market works now. Is that something that's even promotable? Like, would people go, oh, Rick Remender's doing this? Or would it just be the Rick Remender image fans, of which, again, we have 20, just moving over and getting Green Arrow, which would still be the best-selling Green Arrow book we've had in years.
Sure, but I don't think it would be that because of the Kelly Sue Aquaman experiment.
Yeah, I wonder how much his audience
is willing to follow.
Is loyal, I guess.
Whereas her
I'd
audience
say,
is character-based?
Not character-based, but I think hers has a very specific, not the opposite of that, thematic-based. Like, they don't care, like, they want a specific kind of Kelly Sue book, and as much as I appreciate DC putting her on Aquaman, because it's, I think, not what people expected, they were expecting, like, Wonder Woman or something, like a female protagonist. And that's so, like, limiting and diminishing to say that, like, she can only write Wonder Woman, Black Canary, Harley Quinn. Like, how about Aquaman, Yeah. It's the thing of, like, why does Gail Simone, why can't she write a Batman book or something? Why does it have to be Batgirl? But at the same time, weirdly, her audience seemed to really support that hypothesis by basically saying, I don't care about her writing Aquaman. Like, they really did not care, and they've steadily cared less as the issues have gone on.
But they also didn't care about her writing Captain Marvel. They cared way less about Aquaman.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you just look at the numbers, they cared 3 times as much probably for something like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that's true.
Even if those numbers were never as representative of the discussion about her writing Captain Marvel, at least they were unequivocally bigger numbers.
Did she actually write Captain Marvel, or did she just walk by her in a train station?
Can't you do both? So if it's not those creators that necessarily can, like, just do more books and put Image back in, certainly for us, like, contention. I don't know who the current roster of creators is that could do it. Like, who is anybody at Marvel or DC right now that's at a level where they could go do a creator-owned book? Because a lot of the people that are hot now at those companies do creator-owned stuff and no one cares. Donny Cates does Redneck and no one cares.
Right.
He's done any number of stuff at, like, Aftershock and Vault or whatever, and nobody cares. So he did God Country, and I think we sell maybe 2 copies of God Country a year, and it's basically with the guy he did Thanos and Guardians of the Galaxy with. So it has all the material to be successful, and yet that audience that's supporting these writers at these companies only likes them at those companies, and even that only on specific books. It's very, very, to what you're saying with Kelly Sue, it is very character-based. Like, they like them when those stars align, but when you separate them from that, like, they'll follow the character, not the creator.
Yep.
And that's so strange to me. And it creates an environment where I don't know how you build the next generation of Image superstars. The market has shifted in weird ways that I don't know if there's a roadmap like there used to be. It used to be you do some indie stuff, you get a Marvel gig, then you go to Image and you take that fan base with you, Now, you don't. Like, you go to Image and you do some stuff and no one really notices. And then you go to Marvel and you get, like, the big deal and you start to make the real money. And then you get a fan base. But that fan base is loyal to you, the Marvel creator, not you, the comic creator.
I was going to joke that what you need to do is start a YouTube channel and become a YouTube personality.
Smart.
And then write a comic. But even that doesn't work. Look at Adventure Zone.
What about Adventure Zone?
Adventure Zone, the graphic novel series, number 1 did huge. Number 2, no one cares.
I don't know if that's a thing that no one cares or no one cares at our store.
Huh.
I mean, maybe you're right. Certainly we had a ton of people coming in asking for Volume 1, even when that thing was selling on Amazon.
Yeah.
So you would think it would be something that would be true in both markets, not just one or the other, but I don't know. And how many times have we seen a huge sell for Volume 1 and then no one cares about Volume 2? Like, the interest was the novelty, and the novelty is gone now.
That is literally why we made the Glow signing be you're buying all 4 issues.
Yeah. And no offense to the creators, because I like them a lot and I like the book. I thought the first issue was really fun, by the way. I can see a lot of those copies not being picked up from us. Bought and paid for.
Yeah.
Sitting in a box.
Yeah. Just the problem is bought and paid for already.
Right.
So bad at keeping the money aside for that for 3 more months.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So yeah, I going all the way back to the original comment question, I would say that Image and DC are maybe overproducing more than Marvel's overproducing relative to their sales. Marvel makes a lot of books, but a lot of DC stuff is just selling at not low enough levels that we can discontinue them, but low enough levels where you're like, boy, DC didn't do much money for us this week. And Image launches where it's just like, the most recent catalog, I think it was Clock, and another one. I can't even remember the names anymore.
I can't either.
It's stuff where it's like, what do we order for this? 2 people reserved it. I mean, 10? Do we order 10 copies? Can we even sell 8 copies of a first issue of an Image book? And that's with nothing else to that.
Yeah, then when you
that would have been the 5th tier of an Image release
back in the day,
a few years ago, and now it's like that's it. That's the month.
And when you're ordering issue 2 and you have 2 subscribers, you ordered 10 for number 1. Mm-hmm. You're like, I don't know, 4,
6,
yeah,
at most 6. I mean, you got to assume that 40% of people who buy, even if you sell out of issue 1, 40% of people are not going to come back for issue 2. That's just how that company works.
Not only can I not remember the titles of the Image books that were offered in the previous month's order form, I still have yet to look through this new previews.
Yeah, you're not missing much.
And I had someone point to the sign on the back of the monitor today and say, "Oh, they're making a new Darth Vader series?" as a question, and I said, "I don't know. Is that what that sign says?" I haven't even looked at that.
Uh-huh.
I legit cannot name you anything that's on there. I haven't looked at that previews. I don't know what is on that sign.
I think I remember a few things.
I'm going to say yes to a Darth Vader series.
Yep. Greg Pak, who I'm excited about, but it's Raphael Ienco, who did some I can't remember the name of the books that he did for Image, but it was like Lady Assassin books, and I thought the artwork was really bad on those.
Oh, did he come from like the Matt Hawkins part of Image?
Yeah.
The Top Cow part?
Yeah, and I remember thinking that art was not good, but I mean, Marvel's got a bunch of people.
I applaud you for remembering his name, pronouncing his name, and knowing his previous credits. And that is a thing that is harder and harder for me to do because I'm just... So many art styles are blending together. Like that Hellions cover that they did the slow reveal of this week?
Yeah. So,
I swear to God, I'm like, it's Lionel Yu. It's Lionel Yu.
I'm like, oh, this is just bad Lionel Yu art. And then I found out it was Steven Segovia, and I went, oh, I should have thought of that when I thought of bad Lionel Yu art.
Yeah.
Because he's Lionel Yu, but less good. I don't like Steven Segovia really at all, but Zeb Wells is writing that book, so I don't know.
Right.
And that cast could be fun. I like the idea of, like... I don't think at this point I will ever get tired of, like, Havoc being in charge of a team because he's a joke.
Right.
Like, basically ever since Peter David's X Factor, not counting post-Axis Rick Remender stuff, Havoc's just a joke character, and I like that. I like that he's, like, the Summers brother that's always screwing up. I really like that. But Hellions, I think, will do well. Like, Hellions is the sort of book that a few years ago would have been something where we would have been like, 3 people are going to want this. We'll probably order like 15 of the first one. But now it's like, I probably think 20 or 30 people are going to want it at least, and we'll probably order like 75. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about
with the
Marvel sales.
Marvel on succeeding.
Yeah. Every addition to that line, even the ones that maybe like we maybe over-ordered or had more confidence in, are things where even the sell-through numbers are still really, really, really strong. And that means that I don't care as much about, shit like Ruins of Ravencroft or Annihilation Scourge or 2099, where we're not ordering a lot and it's not doing that well, because there's like 5 other books coming out that month, brand new from Marvel, that are doing great. So I don't care if they're putting out stuff that's maybe underperforming, because they are putting out enough stuff that is performing. Like, I get mad at Image because I look at it and I go, well, these aren't going to sell. And there's nothing that is going to sell. And I know that it's tough for them because they don't have, again, built-in brands. So they can't just make more comics that sell. They have to wait for creators to create comics that are going to sell and then hope the market supports them. Sometimes
and even the
those stars do not align.
Make great work, like Criminal, still one of my favorite books. It's not selling near what... Killer Be Killed was selling, and Killer Be Killed wasn't selling as much as the previous one. The Fade Out was. Actually, I think Killer Be Killed was better than Fade Out toward the end.
Yeah.
But it still dropped. What was the book that they started where they gave us a huge overship at #1, and we're like, oh my god, we sold like 60 copies of #1 for this. This is amazing. And by the end of its run, it was at like 28 or 32.
Probably Fatale.
Yeah.
Fatale was what I'll always remember, because Fatale was the start of Image Renaissance. That was one where all of a sudden Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips were doing this book, and they'd already done Criminal at Icon, so it wasn't a huge deal. But suddenly this book just sparked with people, and they were just grabbing it, and we were selling. It was the hit Image book, and then like Saga was pretty soon thereafter. And yeah, everything just after that, you just had all these Marvel creators, the Marvel architects, and they were coming over and they were doing these books, and they were all hitting so well. And now it's just like Sex Criminals come back for 5 issues, and we already have a built-in subscription base for that, so it's not really a risk, and it will sell well because most of the subscribers that we had back when it stopped coming out are still with us, so just restarting them.
It just won't do any higher.
Yeah,
Jump on now, it's the last arc.
The rest of it, I don't know. I mean, it would be nice if Frontier ever came out. People seem pretty excited about that.
I can't even think of a situation where when Saga was given to us as a PDF to read it, we ordered 200 copies of #1. There is nothing, no matter how good it is, from Image that will go, 200 copies, please.
I mean, it would have to be that kind of like once-in-a-decade book. And once in a decade means at least once in a decade it's got to come up, right? So I think we'll get there. Nothing on the horizon that I've seen Image promoting makes me think like, oh, this is the next hit book. Like even Undiscovered Country seemed like it had the pieces in place. You know, Scott Snyder, Charles Soule, Camo.
Yeah.
It's got a kind of clever premise. But I read the first issue. I didn't think it was that great. Like
I thought
nothing about it made me think like we underordered it.
No, I mean I thought it was good, but it was a lot of what's happening.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
You need to be hooked a little bit more.
Every direction it ran in was like, oh, that's kind of what I thought they would do. Like nothing shocked me. There was no unpredictable twist in the book.
I just don't like it when I read comics that are new comics and think, oh, this is pretty decent. I see myself falling off of it by 4.
Sure.
It's like, I don't want to fall off a book.
It's hard to keep up with things nowadays.
It really
certainly
is.
What with the 2 stores, that's its own special difficulty.
Yeah.
Although I'm finding myself reading a lot more now that I'm working in River North.
Well, that's a perk then.
Well,
there it is.
Well,
that is a thing.
Yeah.
You can do. I had a couple other points as we were talking about that, but I'm like, I feel like I keep cutting them off too much, so I'll hold them.
No,
and then I forgot them.
I put a little bookmark in my brain where I'm like, okay,
Oh,
we'll
nice.
talk about this, and then I'll remember to come back to that.
That is not a thing that I know how to do. It's too bad. One of it was based off of when you said how quick the market forgets about people, but I wonder just how many titles could benefit from nothing. I got nothing. More sales. There you go.
You tried.
No, what I want to say is that while it may seem like we're shitting on some of these companies, it is we want them all to do well.
Yeah, and I'm saying all this because I've seen when Image does well, and we love it. Not only because it's more sales immediately, but also because eventually becomes way more graphic novel sales. If you look at the stuff that we have on our spotlight tables at our 2 locations in Bucktown and River North, it's a lot of books that started coming out like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that's come out more recently just does not have excitement from us or the general like single issue fan base to make us think, oh, this is going to do great in trade. Like the ones that are the more recent ones, Isola does okay. Gideon Falls does really well.
Yeah.
Ice Cream Man does well.
Infidel?
You're
talking about series?
I'm talking about series.
Sorry.
Infidel does outstanding, and I wish there was another strong horror book that we could replace that with, because I'm kind of getting a little tired of having Infidel spotlighted for so long, but it keeps selling.
Yeah, it legit came out a year ago.
Yeah, and there has not been another single volume horror graphic novel that is anywhere near as good or as easy to sell as Infidel, so it's going to sit there until something can replace it, and nothing can yet.
I feel like it'll be Quantum and Woody, though.
You think? As a horror graphic
Yeah,
novel?
exactly.
Sure. Yeah, 5 issues, it fits really well.
We had 2 gentlemen in today from Nebraska.
Okay.
And one of them had commented our front table and said, I really like what you have up there. Half of the books on that table I love. The other half I don't know, and it makes me realize I need to know what they are because I love what you've already recommended, so
cool.
Let's figure it out. The bad news for them is that they came to Chicago this weekend to see the Cowboys play.
Oh, well, season's almost over.
It's not that bad. Of the 2, one was a Bears fan, one was a Cowboys fan.
Season's almost over.
So one of them went away happy.
Okay.
One of them did not.
Season's almost over.
But it was a nice compliment from people who appreciated the books we recommend. Had another woman who was in today for the first time because her dad told her to come in because she just moved to the neighborhood and she's like right next door. I didn't ask where because I didn't want to be creepy.
Sure.
But she's like, yeah, when I told my dad where I lived, he said, you are literally next door to one of the best comics I've ever seen, so you have to go in. So she came in and she bought the last DC blind box lanyard and something else.
So this is a segue to something I was thinking about this week.
Okay.
Since we have the 2 stores now.
2?
2 stores. Blue and Gold, I think is it. That's the Booster Gold and Blue Beetle. That's what we did it off of. Is that right? Orange and Blue. Sorry, Orange and Blue.
No,
Sorry.
No. It was the X-Men teams. Red
and Black?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait, no, that's just one store. Since we have the 2 stores, something I've noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed it. Since
you're more tired.
No, weirdly, I find myself trying to. I mean, maybe a little bit. I try to do more at night now. Like, because I want to feel like my day is not entirely just
So you
working.
want to be productive. Got it.
Like,
yeah.
not even productive. I just want to, like, feel like I have some self-care time. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Got back on the Kamen Rider Kuga. The thing I've noticed is, since a couple days, 2 or 3 days a week, are in a new store and I'm interacting with new people, and you're very kind of performative about it. It's very welcome to the store. Thank you so much for making time for us. Oh yeah, we're happy to be in the neighborhood. Let me show you some stuff. Like, having to kind of be in that mode more makes me, I feel like, a little bit better at doing that in Bucktown, because it's like it's a muscle that not an atrophied, but I don't meet as many new people in Bucktown.
Right.
But everybody in River North is brand new.
See, I still get a lot of that on Saturdays.
Yeah.
But I know exactly what you're talking about. The one thing I need to figure out, though, in River North is when to greet people.
Right.
Because when they walk
Shouting
in...
from the back of the store.
Yeah, you don't want to be like, hi, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, keep reading.
I said, what? I said thanks for,
So many people just took their headphones off right now.
Yeah,
just at that moment.
That's another point. So many people are taking their headphones off as they're coming in. So I've taken
don't worry,
to...
Patrick, not all of them do. Some of them just leave them in their ears the whole time. But when they're talking to you, it's just
nice.
Take your AirPods out. It's easy to do.
I've gone to doing this when they come in. Little wave.
Yeah. And then, one of the things I kind of like about the setup for River North, how the doors farther away and the counters in the back, is that it's easier for me to know when to ask them if they need help.
Yes.
Because they've already sort of walked through the store, instead of like, I can't ask you as soon as you walk in the door, but oftentimes by the time I see you, you've made a circuit and you're on the way out. So at that point, it just feels weird to go, can I help you find anything? Because then it's like, no, we're just leaving. So something where it's kind of exactly at the midway point where it's like, hey, can I help you find anything? If you need anything, here, I'm happy to help. I'll be over here working, Like, you've made yourself available to them, even if they choose not to ask for help, You've left it out there for them to sort of take or not take.
Yeah.
But I noticed, like, this Wednesday, when I was all by myself and so lonely,
all by myself,
that I was kind of in that
don't
mode.
Wanna be. You keep talking. I'm just going to sing under it.
Oh, I'm not going to do that.
All right.
That I was kind of in that mode from like Tuesday and then the previous Friday and Saturday, where I was a lot more emotionally present, I guess, for people, like more talkative, more energetic, more upbeat, in a way that previously it would be like, well, either Patrick can handle that, or I see this guy all the time, it's not a big deal. Do you know what I mean?
No, as someone who gives 100% to every single person that comes to the door, I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry then that I've always been diminishing the brand.
Holding back.
Diminishing the brand.
Holding back a little. There was one person I did not help today. He came up with Second Coming number 2. Mm-hmm. He said, do you have number 1? And I go, off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it would have been right there on the shelf if we had it. Well, the shelf only has 2 through 5, but I need number 1. Okay, well, if you only see 2, 3, 4, and 5, we don't have number 1. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to go out there and show you that we don't have it, because clearly you just looked and saw we didn't have it. How did your Yelp call go?
They never called back.
Oh,
yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, which,
Too bad.
Partly I'm like, maybe this is worth investigating, and I'll hear them out, and we'll see if we can make this work financially. But the other part of me is like, I'm so glad I didn't have to do that phone call. I really didn't want to be on the phone with Yelp, having them spend 15 minutes walking me through a pitch deck online and telling me why I need to be spending all my money with Yelp.
Also, the new sign place never emailed back either.
Oh, okay.
Which is too bad.
I'm sorry.
Which is too bad.
So I feel like the second store, far from like sapping all my strength and energy as one might have anticipated, actually I feel like it's getting me back in the rhythms of being a better retailer.
It's harder for me to get my normal jobs done. Mm-hmm. I'm still adjusting to it.
Sure.
Ryan had said on Wednesday, so does it feel like home? I'm like, no. It'll take a while for it to feel like home.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Red feels like home. Red is a comfortable chair.
For sure. Yeah, like after 2 days of being in River North, Friday and Saturday, like going to 2 days of Bucktown is like, it's like going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. I'm still getting used
Like,
to...
I'm going to have more stuff to do. I've got more things I need to get done. I have a limited window in which to get them done in. But when I go to River North, it's like, what am I going to do with my day?
Well, even when I have things to do, it takes me longer to do them because I'm still figuring out how to do them there, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think...
just the logistics of, I'm in a different position. The computers are different. Like,
Yeah.
I can't put my foot on the shelf that I usually do.
I think you're doing more computer stuff, and I think I'm doing more, like, store signage stuff.
Stuff that is, like, the 4 inches of the counter makes a huge difference to me.
Sure. It's tricky for me, because, if I eat at the left counter,
Yeah.
which is where I'd like to eat because it's a little bit more wide open, it doesn't have all the computer stuff
Right.
around. The height of the stool makes it such that my knees clip the top of the counter,
Ugh.
which make it hard to eat. I have to bend over a
Yeah.
lot more to get
Yep.
at the food. And it's also like the extra 4 inches of height means my legs can go kind of right under the counter and I can kind of be eating at a table. This, it's like I'm eating further out than my knees are.
And you couldn't go under because of that little
Right.
tiny shelf at the top.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I don't love this position.
For Christmas, I'm going to get you a breakfast in bed tray. You can just put on the counter.
Thank you.
Just put on the counter to raise it up a
Thank
little
you.
bit more.
You might be joking, but I'd probably use it. I wouldn't have to clean the counter after I eat.
Only if it's blue.
Sure, that's fine.
That's fine.
No, honestly, that's actually a pretty good idea.
Maybe I shouldn't have said it out loud.
Yeah, I mean,
Damn it.
that hopefully it's not the entirety of a Christmas gift. I mean, that's,
No, I'm I guess 2/3 of the way done with you.
you are 100% done.
I'm not.
Once again, I did everything in like half an hour, like Thanksgiving night or Black Friday night, one of the nights. I just knocked it all out.
It's just that part of the issue with you is that while you gave me a list of things I could get,
Such a big list.
pardon me.
Made sure I gave too many things.
Yes, but they're all from places that, were they to show up on a day that I wasn't there, you would know what they are.
Oh, it's fine. I mean,
No, it's not.
No?
It's not fine.
Okay.
I don't want that.
Okay, because there's a chance that something I got you is going to show up on a day I'm not there, and you will probably absolutely figure it out.
Then there's the...
I mean, one of them already did.
There's some things that you asked for that when I looked into, it's like, oh, I will get it by January 9th if I order today. Several things come from Japan, and their shipping would be... So I'm like, well, I'm not getting those.
Sure.
So that really narrowed down
things.
If I even used your list at all.
At
all. I will say that I threw a couple of emails out today to places to see if an idea that I had for you could come through, and I've heard nothing back.
Okay.
I've heard nothing back. Otherwise, my shopping is pretty well taken care
underway?
of.
Yeah.
I just have to find time to wrap things. And
God,
now
same
I've
here.
already... Gina is already done working for December. Lizzie would have been, but because she just had a switch with Sam for the next 2 weeks because of stuff that they're all doing. So it's like, literally the people that I have gifts for who work for us, I will see Lizzie one time before Christmas, Ashley one time before Christmas. Like that, I got to get everything ready and done by the next. Yeah, there's no. I was explaining to Lizzie today that Christmas Eve used to be my favorite day of the year because we would just finish doing, or it'd be right toward the end of a 30-hour overnight shift that we were doing.
Sure.
And then we would all go out to breakfast at some local greasy diner, and we would do our friend Christmas there.
Yeah.
Then I had Christmas Eve night open for either friends, like some friends would do elaborate Christmas Eve things, and I'd go to there, or if I was dating somebody, like their family's Christmas Eve, and have that. And then I still had to look forward to Christmas Day.
Sure.
Now, none of that is there.
Right.
And, for example, this year, Christmas Eve
There's no, traditions anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
And even, though we work with a group of people, it's like, well, we don't see them in a concentrated area before Christmas.
Right.
It's piecemeal. And the idea of exchanging presents at the store on a Saturday that you work with somebody, it's not special.
No, I mean, not when there's, like, people buying stuff or whatever. Like, it's a weird place to do it.
And then it's like, oh, you want to wait until after
you might as well do it on the bus or something. Like, no.
And then if you wait until after it closes, like, well, we each have places to get to, and we just have to hurry through this.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't have the same, and this year's Christmas Eve will be, I was going to say it's a new comic Tuesday pickup, but it's not. The books we'll already have the books.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
we'll have gotten them.
The previous Friday.
Happy holidays, everyone. Thanks for listening.
You keep reading Christmas comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155.
And in the River North neighborhood of Chicago at 750 North Franklin Street, number 103, 312-285-2252.
Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. Like Challengers Comics on Facebook, follow @Challengers on Twitter, and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.